There's a lot of unwiring that we have to do when we look to step into this identity of being the person you want to be so that you can create the outcomes that you want. So I have to have the confidence in order to do what an executive and leader would do so that I could be the confident executive. We're ignoring the actual present moment. And the present moment is the only thing we have control over. If you're in the room, you deserve to be in the room. That's not an accident. You created that. Last week, I got to meet someone new, and I love meeting new people because I walk away feeling inspired, learning something new, having an aha moment for myself. And this conversation was really special because this person was telling me that they found themselves in a boardroom and they were giving a presentation. And when they found out that I was a coach, they asked me, well, how do I become more confident in the boardroom? And the fact that this person asked this question blew my mind. Number one, it hit home because I, especially growing up, struggled so hard with confidence. I had trouble speaking up for myself. I had trouble even knowing what it was that I wanted because I didn't feel like what I wanted was even worthy of considering. I was so shy as a kid. And so I felt it in my chest. But the other reason that I was befuddled was this person was so accomplished. They had spent time in the military, they were a physician, and then they had been brought on by this company to spearhead this new project. And here they are after having set really high goals, proving that they could do it and do it well. Now they're questioning their confidence, their capability. It really, really was eye-opening. And it's very common. So Pauline Clance and Suzanne Imes, they coined this term, right? When you have an opportunity, you step into it and then you question your ability or question your self-worth. It's known as imposter syndrome, right? Many of you have heard of it. And as I started to take this in and really be intentional about what I was thinking and how I responded, there was just such empathy for this person and such compassion. And so what came out of my mouth was, if you're in the room, you deserve to be in the room. That's not an accident. You created that. And they said, well, yeah, but I'm a physician. I'm not an executive. Like, I don't know how to do that. I'm not confident in that. I don't know how to do this. And I said, it all starts with seeing yourself as someone who belongs. And they said, but how? How do I do that? How did you do that? You left dentistry and you did all this other stuff, but how'd you do that? And I was thinking about it and I, thought the traditional things that people say, right? Oh, it's the way you stand. Your posture really impacts what people perceive and how you feel when you're there in the boardroom. Absolutely. The clothes make the person. Also true. It feels nice when you're dressed well in a nice looking suit or whatever, and you're showing up looking like somebody who fits that role. But those things are just as impactful as they are. The biggest indicator of where somebody is their mindset, right? What do they believe about themselves? So this person's telling me, I'm not an executive. I'm just a physician, right? We take our accomplishment and then we deflect. We take away from it. And this is not just this person, but I mean, I've done it. So many people that I know have done it. It's such a human thing to do. So when we talk about essentially this identity gap, right? We have a role and we're going into a new role that's bigger or more expansive in some way. And there's a gap between who we think we are and who we want to be. And we're not sure how to fill that gap. We're not sure how to make those two come together. The thing that we have backwards is that we think we have to have the time, resources, connections, money, whatever, to be able to do the work of someone who is something, right? Have, do, be. I have to have the confidence in order to do what an executive and leader would do so that I could be the confident executive. But it's actually backwards. The fastest way to close the gap is to actually put yourself in the mindset that you already are that person. You are a competent, confident physician leader in this case, right? And then once you see yourself as this person, then you can do as that person would do. What would a confident leader do? How would they show up? What would their tone of voice be? How would they speak? How would they make eye contact? Right? And then that will allow for us to have the confidence, have the meetings in the boardroom that go well, have the lifestyle that goes with that identity. It's not have, do, be. It's be, do, have. We have to really become that person before we can live the life of that person. That next great version of yourself that absolutely exists. Be that person now. And, the confidence, it's interesting because confidence comes with competence, right? But competence comes from doing. So if you can practice being, right? That's basically an act. How am I being the confident leader? What would they do as a result? Then you can create outcomes that you wouldn't otherwise be able to because you're too worried about how you're showing up or what other people are thinking, right? Presence in the room is so critical. Oftentimes we let our minds kind of run the show. We're default programmed, especially when we're stressed, when we're in an unfamiliar situation, as we're actually stepping into a new identity. Our fear-based thoughts, our guard thoughts, as you guys know, those of you who have read my book, I refer to these thoughts as guard thoughts. They're fear-based, false evidence appearing as real, right? And if we subconsciously let those thoughts run the show, what happens is we tend to fall to past experiences that either didn't go well or, things that we can't control in the past. We're focused on future worries when we can't control what happens in the future, and we're ignoring the actual present moment. And the present moment is the only thing we have control over. You have to be present in the room as a confident leader, a confident parent, but being present in the room so that you can have the effective conversations and create the decisions that are going to honor the outcomes that you want, honor your goals in the best way possible. The other thing that comes up, especially for women, is when we experience this imposter syndrome, there's what's called a confidence gap between men and women. Men typically tend to overestimate their abilities. Women tend to underestimate. And in actual reality, the quality and the quantity of their output is not that different from one another. This is what a Cornell study found. As the study found that the older women get, they have this practice of doing, right? Doing, and then it kind of evens out the older they get with men. But it's particularly lopsided when you're in your 20s and your 30s and in your 40s. I can speak to this myself. My experience growing up, I was taught that men are always right. I was taught that women are meant to stay quiet. I was taught that they're smarter. Men make the actual decisions that matter. And so there's a lot of unwiring that we have to do when we look to step into this identity of being the person you want to be so that you can create the outcomes that you want. So I just wanted to acknowledge how normal this is. And because of that, I actually heard someone talk about the idea of calling imposter syndrome imposter phenomenon. An imposter phenomenon meaning that a phenomenon means there's something natural that happens, right? The sun rises and sets each day. It's just something that happens. So is this confidence gap, this imposter feeling, is it's a phenomenon. Every human feels this way at some point, right? So rather than making it a problem, just recognize it's a part of who we are, and we get to decide whether we're going to lean into that belief or lean into something that's more positive. When we spend our time focusing on mindset, right? What evidence do I have to support my doubt? When have I ever had this experience where this has come true, right? In the case of this person, my asking them, well, what proof do you have that you don't know what you're doing? And when they thought about it, they're like, well, actually, I, was in the military, went to med school, completed residency, did all these amazing things, trekked the Andes, whatever they've done. And they're like, actually, maybe I can do this. Actually, I know I can do this. I just felt their shift in energy, and just simply in reframing who they are and who they can be based on the positive outcomes that they were already able to create for themselves. So if you've been struggling with how to step into a new role, or maybe it's at home with your kids, you're feeling like you're not as present as you want to be, or maybe you're feeling like you're just not as connected as you want to be, step into that role. What does a connected parent look like? What does an effective mom look like? What kind of relationship do you want to have? Be that person and create from there.